Hello and welcome back to the When You're podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're going to be talking about when you're in a horror movie. Now, this Halloween, I have definitely been trying to do this movie marathon, Halloween horror movie marathon. Every single day you watch a horror movie or something scary or something inside the genre, you know. And I've been thinking a lot about what should I watch next? Or should it be like a solo film? Should it be like a franchise film or something? And every time I think about it, I'm always like, but that movie sucks. I'm not really a horror movie guy. I like them, but I like them because I don't take them seriously. They don't frighten me. They don't scare me. Horror movies don't scare me. They're more of like comedies. You know, I can make fun of them. You yell in the theater and you go like, don't go that way, you idiot. You know what I mean? You just you feel like, oh, you know, they're dumb. They don't figure it out. Why are they being, why can't they ever do anything right? And that's what my big thing is about all of these movies is that I watch them and then I'm like, if I were in that exact same situation, I would already be gone. I would live. I would survive the night or whatever, whenever it is, you know? So I just kind of wanted to talk about the things that I see in horror movies that I'm like, I definitely, when you're in a horror movie, you have to look out for these things. So the first one is the creepy music at the beginning, right? Or the creepy music when something's building up. Because if you're in a horror movie, you're walking slowly, and the buildup is like in Jaws, the shark is coming, right? Da-dun, 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 the shark is coming, and it builds up, right? You have to be, when you're in a horror movie, you have to be aware that when it's silent, and you're walking as slow as possible, and you're in the danger zone or wherever, you're in the abandoned, you're in the haunted mansion and you're just kind of walking slowly, creepily, and you have to make up this creepy music in your head so you're always aware. You're not just sitting there doing nothing, you can actively participate, and you can, if you do that, when you're in a horror movie, when you can just feel the creepy music is building, then you're gonna be better off in the long run, especially because if you're always on edge, if you're always ready for trouble to come your way, you'll be fine. You'll be good. It's the people who don't anticipate it, or the people who are running super fast, and you don't have time for the creepy music, right? You don't have time for the buildup, but it's already built up. You're running away, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're dead. Which is not what you want. You want to live. You want to survive. And if you don't, you're gonna lose a lot of loved ones. That's another thing they don't talk about. They don't show in these horror movies the families of all of the people. Maybe for a brief second they look away. They're like, oh no, my boy, my son. It's like, oh wait, hold on now. Where was How come we don't get a little bit more on that? Or maybe a revenge story of a family trying to bring back their son, or trying to get revenge for their son from the bad guy or whoever. But I guess for the most part, they usually get caught. But anyways, when you're in a horror movie, just be aware of creepy music, or have creepy music in your head when you're out somewhere doing creepy stuff. Because if I promise you this, if you constantly think there's creepy music going on, any place you're not familiar with, any place that seems creepy in the slightest, you're going to survive. You're going to make it. You just have to have that self-awareness in the moment of no, this is when Jaws comes. This is when Michael Myers comes and they're playing the piano, do 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 do, or however it goes. So be aware of creepy music, and pick up the social cues. Get the understanding of the environment. You're in a secluded spot and you think you're going to survive this by walking as slow as possible or by running. Come on, you gotta be aware of what's going on all around you. Now, when you're aware of that, then comes the next part, right? The jump scare. And every horror movie that I see, it's always this jump scare, and I'm already ready for it, right? Because that's the first step, is the music. The creepy music builds it up, you turn around the corner, bam, there it is. Oh my gosh, the lady screaming, lets out a big scream. She freezes and she starts screaming. She doesn't think to run away or turn around or put the gun to its face or whatever. she just sits there and she screams, and you're like, why are you just, But I get it. They're startled. They're surprised. They jump out. It's the jump scare. And people in the theater especially, they get freaked out by those jump scares. And it's like, you didn't see that coming? You didn't know? Like, I don't know how people are surprised by scary movies anymore. Like, maybe kids or, like, teenagers or something when you're old enough to go, depending on the movie, the genre. Mm. But, like, if kids see it, dude, first of all, if you let your kids see, like, bloody, terrible stuff like that, you're a terrible parent. But you're also letting them know, figuring it out early that this scary movie really isn't that scary, especially if you do it the right way. So that's why I like to make fun of them. It's just like, that stuff doesn't scare me. And I know I would be the smartest person in those scenarios. So the jump scare pops out, right? This is when you really get tested. This is really when you know, would I survive, right? Because sometimes I'll get jump startled by something, because sometimes I won't be, I'll have my headphones in, I'm listening to music, and then one of my family members comes into my room or into the kitchen, and I'm not aware of it, and I turn around, they scare me, and I'm like, whoa. And in that moment, I'm like, it's like that Vine video where the person like jumps out and scares the guy, and he does that move. He's like, I'm not even worried about it. I'll just kill you. I'm not even. That's what you have to do. You have to be ready. You have to be prepared. Always get into a position where you're gonna kill somebody. So that's how you survive those jump scares, right? When it all of a sudden flashes in your face, the very imminent moment of death. That's when you have to take it on. You have to fight it. Be ready. Be aware. So now I've tried to, like, what's my stance? How am I going to do it? And for a lot of people, it's the punch, right? They go straight for a knockout. You see those what are those called? They go around and scare people. I guess it's those haunted places, or you pay money to go through the haunted mansions, and then they pop out and they jump scare you. And people have really just gotten so scared, and they punch. They resort to physical violence. And that's how you have to be. That's how you know this person's about it. That's how you know that they'll survive in any scary scenarios that they get put into, and especially a horror movie. If you're in a horror movie and you're not ready to fight, you're dead. You're already dead. You don't stand a chance. So when the jump scare comes out, fight back is all I'm trying to say. The jump scare, it's fight or flight. You got to fight. If you run away, chances are Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger or whoever it is chasing you is definitely going to catch up to you, and they're going to kill you. So you definitely have to fight right then and there and take it on head on. You can't hold back. You can't, try to fight it from another angle. Head on. That's how all of these scenarios are resolved. Name a horror movie where they indirectly stop the bad guy. There's none. You have to confront it face to face. And if you die, well, you were going to die anyways. It is what it is. And that's how you survive these horror movies. So when you're in a horror movie, when they jump scare at you, fight. You got to fight right then and there. You have no choice. Or just be ready. At least be ready for that to happen. Now, there is one thing that I think everybody can get behind. At least one thing. One fear, really, that makes you or has to get your attention the most. And in any creepy horror movie scenario, if there is an evil clown, like in It, or, I don't know, another movie with like an evil clown. Let's just stick with the It. When there is a clown involved, right, your safest bet is to do what? You have to run away. I mean, I know I just said you have to confront it and face it, but that's only if they jump scare you, right? If they're just being creepy, hanging out in the sewer, asking you to, come hang out in the sewer, you run away. You do not stick around. You don't hang out with the clown. Who does that? Nobody in their right mind. I don't know why Georgie thought it was a good idea to hang out with this clown, put his arm in the thing, and get his arm bit off completely. Spoilers, I guess, whatever. Spoilers for any movies that I bring up, all right? Just, Be aware of that. So if there's an evil clown involved, your best bet is to run away. You don't even think about it. You have to run away. Because you don't know what this clown is capable of, right? Maybe it's just a whatever clown, just some guy dressed up as a clown, right? But there's always some sort of mysticism, right? There's always some sort of like magical element to the clown, I feel. And that's part of the mysterious evil charm of the evil clown. You just got to avoid it at all costs. You can't anticipate it. You can't be like, well, it's just a clown. He's got no special skills. He can't do anything. But the truth is, he does have special skills. He maybe has some sort of trickery or magic to throw at you. You don't want to deal with it, is all I'm trying to say. So your best bet in those scenarios. Now, if you have to fight, you have to do it. You have to do it face on. And I'm saying if that is your only option. With evil clowns, you don't ever... When you know it's involved, right? Let's say you don't know it's involved, they jump scare you, and then you decide, all right, I gotta fight no matter what. In that scenario, yes, you gotta fight. But if you know this killer clown or evil clown is coming after you, that is when you decide to get up and run. Your best option in that scenario is to run. Because nothing says that clowns are fast, right? Maybe Michael Myers is quick. Maybe, Freddy Krueger has with his, his knives or whatever. Maybe Jason with the chainsaw or whoever, They're quick, right? They can outrun you. They can catch up. There's nothing that suggests that a clown is fast. There's no reason to suspect it. So running and getting into the open will not only keep it from attacking you, it'll also get everyone aware and focused and maybe change its target to somebody else. Because clowns, they just want to destroy. They just want to attack. They're not very methodical. Unlike, in It, he targets kids because they're afraid, right? And then when they're not afraid of him, then, eventually they all go away. So that's what you have to do. You have to run. You have to divert it to somebody else. Or just show no fear and fight it. When it's the evil clown, you have to run. That's the first step. Second step, if you have to, you got to fight. But I would extremely, extremely suggest running, getting into an open space with a lot of light, somewhere where everyone can see it. Nobody can see it. Nobody's going to believe you. People are going to think you're weird. People will believe you have a phobia of clowns, but they won't believe that a clown tried to kill you, right? Remember back in, 2015, 2016, where there were killer clowns? There were killer clowns out there. People were killing people in clown costumes. You're just like, what is going on with the world? That was back way when, Who knows what happened to them now? They're still out there. You got to run away from them. You can't take any chances with this. So... my advice for killer clowns, when you're in a horror movie, run. Get into an open space, somewhere where they don't have the advantage. I think in small spaces and tight quarters, somewhere they can trap you, they have they have the advantage there. They can trap you in, they can freak you out more. If it's just you and them one-on-one. If you're on the open, you're good. They're gonna move on to somebody else maybe, or they'll just leave you alone completely. There's nothing to think about there. You got to run from it. You got to. It's not like a creepy little doll where you feel like you could definitely fight it. It's a clown, and if you're afraid of clowns, you have to run from it. And if you can't run away from it, if you really are in a trapped room with it, you got to fight your way out. That's what you have to do. So, and here's another thing, is why would you want to go in a small space, right? Like anybody who's in these horror movies, they always run to their room and they close the door and then they just stand there and they're like, everything's okay now. They could never figure out how to open a door, They could never break my door down, right? Because, come on, this is my room. That is so dumb. You have to get out into open space where other people are around. So one, you have witnesses. Two, they can be targets instead of you. And three, there has to be, and three, there's a good chance that you're going to get help. You know, if you just stay in your room and maybe your family is already murdered, you have to get out into open space, seek help. You can't just stay in there. So out in the open, where people can see. And when you do that, the chances of you succeeding, the chances of the horror movie ending right then and there are very, very high. Have you ever seen a horror movie where they get out into the open with like a bunch of people and then, you know, everything is, what's the word? Everything is resolved. Everything is done. No. You know why? Because it's not scary enough. It doesn't frighten people enough. If you get out into the open, if you're with a bunch of people, you rarely see like, you know, in the movie, The Kingsman? Okay, so spoiler for The Kingsman, right? There's a scene where he's in a church and he has to essentially kill his way out. He has to kill everybody in the church. One versus however many people are in the church. And they're all programmed to kill and murder. So he has to fight all of them. When have you ever seen a villain or some evil thing in a horror movie go out into open space and have to massacre just a bunch of people? You never see that, right? Unless it's like The Purge, where they, you know, somebody has like a bunch of guns and they blow up some stuff and they kill people all night. And even then, they're only after one person or like doing one thing. You know, it's not about mass murdering. It's about killing you. The main characters specifically are going after them because they have something or they want to do something to that person. So don't go in there. Don't go into the creepy abandoned building. Don't think for a second that the old shed with all of the knives, the guns, and especially like barns, like with animals and stuff, like never go in there because the chances are the animals are, one, they're probably going to turn on you. They're loud, they notice you, they try to get near you. So whatever you do in life, when you're in a horror movie or you feel like you're in a horror movie scenario, do not go anywhere isolated or alone. You have to stay in a group or get out into open space. This will increase your chances a lot. This is why when you see them in you ever see movies, those horror movies where you're in a corn maze and they're running through the corn maze, right? They're in open space, yet it feels like you're trapped in somewhere. But you rarely ever see them get caught in the corn maze, right? Because you're free, you're in the open, you're running, you're out there. And that's a clear sign that you have to get somewhere open and free. Now, the corn maze also works because it blocks them from seeing you. They might hear you, they might try to follow you, and maybe they can't really pick it up all that well because they're running, they're moving towards you. So you move somewhere, you run, you stop, and then they're like, what's going on over here? And they move in the wrong direction. So long story short, just don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere creepy and don't go anywhere small and alone. You have to go somewhere open. You have to go somewhere where there's a lot of people. And you definitely run into a corn maze in every single scenario. You have to do it. You know, if you don't do it, I feel like you're not understanding the potential there. You're not understanding. Corn is a weapon. Corn is really a weapon that everybody fears. Have you ever seen a movie without corn? They usually die, right? But in a movie with corn, the protagonists live. They survive. They make it through. Now, will they suffer some casualties? Sure. But the corn will always save you. So remember that. Shout out to the corn kid that loves corn. He's such a brilliant kid. He understands what to do in a horror movie. He understands that corn will save you. Cornfields, man. Now, when you're in an open space, right? If you've ever seen the movie Scream, you know what I'm talking about, where she's running in the backyard and she's like, she's got nothing out there. It's just grass. It's flat. There's nothing there to trip on. And yet somehow this this woman, this girl, figures out a way to trip and fall. And you see this throughout all genres of all like horror movie-esque moments where they're running and then they trip and fall. You gotta keep your knees up. You definitely cannot trip and fall in the most crucial moments of your life. How are you gonna trip and fall when you're about to die? Can you believe that? Imagine Usain Bolt trips and falls while running away from Michael Myers. Like, what? Like, and I know that not everybody's Usain Bolt, like, but you gotta move. You can't, how are you gonna trip and fall over nothing? You know, trip over yourself, trip over your foot. Maybe if you fell over, like, a branch, or maybe you fell over a rock, then it's kind of like, okay, I understand that, maybe. Not that much, but just a little bit. But to trip over nothing, what kind of that's really the worst. That's probably one of the worst things I hate about horror movies is that, like, you're free, you're open, you just move, run, and then they trip and fall, and you're like, why? How could? In what world are you, like? That's when I believe they're idiots. That's when I'm like, you're an idiot. You don't know how to move your feet. You don't know how to lift your feet off the ground and move. Like, that bothers me so much, and it always makes me laugh. It's just like, well, let them die. Natural selection at its finest. If you can't learn how to run properly, then you don't deserve to live. And I love those moments so much. It just shows you how much people think that humans are that messed up. Like, they're really gonna, like, fall over all that often for the moment, but you're not. I know for a fact, if I was in a scenario where somebody was chasing me with a gun or a chainsaw or a knife, and I'm running away, there's no way I'm tripping. You can't I won't be caught lacking, you know? I will definitely keep my feet up, and I'm zooming. I'm running. I'm running into open space where people can see me, and I'm getting help. Because every time I see it, I'm just like, there has to be a better way, right? This is my problem with it. Is there has to be a better way. Just make the person faster. Like the other person, just like make them catch up, you know? Why do they have to trip and fall? Like, why is that how you get done in? I never understood it. So, long story short, when you're in a horror movie or in like a scenario such as that, you gotta keep your feet up and just, you gotta be a track star. That's when you have to, the adrenaline will kick in for you, and you're just gonna find that your lungs could take in more air, and your legs are gonna be stronger than ever, and you're just gonna move as fast as possible. You know, faster than you've ever done in your life. And that's good. That's what you want. And that's what's gonna happen. So, run away. Don't trip and fall. If you trip and fall, chances of you dying are like, I want to say 80, but like probably 90. You're at a 90% failure. If you trip and fall, not only will I laugh at you, I will definitely leave you. Like, I don't understand. Okay. I understand that if your family member is like running with you and you're trying to stay together and they trip and fall, all right, go back and help them up. But if you're running solo and you trip and fall, you got nobody else to blame. It's all on you, and you definitely deserve to die. So don't trip and fall. Plain and simple. Don't do it. There's also those people who don't. Okay, so let's say you do run away, right? Let's say you make it away from everything, and then you make it out to the open, and then nobody, obviously the villain or the evil person or spirit or ghost or killer or something, right? They can't get to you because you're with people. You're surrounded by people, and they're not gonna get caught. They don't want to get caught. They want to kill you and get away with it so that nobody knows. So when you're in the open space and then you start talking to people and nobody believes you, there's always that one person who's like, run away, there's this killer on the loose, you know, he tried to run away, and everybody's like, she's crazy. You listen to this crazy old bat, she's just talking about some random killer out there. I've never met him. I've never seen any killer out there. Why would a killer be out in our neighborhood? We live in a good gated community where there's nothing bad happens to us, you know? Why would we listen to her? She's just crazy. She's talking some nonsense. Believe her. Even if it's the smallest chance that she's crazy or that she hasn't taken her schizophrenia medication, you have to believe her. You have to take it a little bit seriously. If you don't, and you can't trust the cops. You know those moments where it's like they report it to the police and the police are like, yeah, we didn't find anything. Just keep your grandma, your mom, or your little sister inside and keep her from like scaring the police or sending us on a wild goose chase. And she's like, I'm telling the truth. And they're just like, you just ruined the police's day. You got us in trouble. And now all of this and that. You got to believe them. All right. Don't give in to the, oh, she's crazy. You know, sometimes they might be, but you have to take that chance. They could be telling the truth. There's that. And when they're telling the truth, what you want to do is, well, first things first. When they're spouting the nonsense, right? You have to take it in little by little. You can't take it in all at once. Because sometimes when it's all of that information, you're just kind of like, okay, whoa, hold on, slow down. You have to take it piece by piece, especially if you have the time. If you don't have the time, you just got to try to soak in as much as you can like a sponge, and then during that moment, you have to take what you want to believe and what you don't want to believe. He was coming at me. He was chasing at me with a chainsaw, and this guy he just murdered all of my friends, and we were out there in the woods and blah, 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 right? In that moment, they start spewing all of this stuff. So you have to think and assess the situation. Okay, this man is chasing her with a chainsaw. Do I believe it? Yes. Okay, if you believe it, then the best thing to do is run away. He killed all of my friends. Well, that explains the blood. Don't know if you're hurt or not, but we got to get up and move. And he's coming after me, or, we have to get away, or we have to do this, we have to do that. We have to call the police, or we were out there in the woods. Like, just bits and pieces that you can take in the moment, right? Depending on the situation. There's sometimes those moments where they're like, oh, that's that creepy old lady, and she doesn't know what she's talking about, but she's actually like, she's actually like this witchy meets crazy person, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but there's always that one person who's like, kind of has it, but doesn't have it, She starts talking about this madness, this crazy monster thing that came out from wherever. And then you're just kind of like, oh, she's just telling the story. She's not telling the truth. Why are you telling those stories, Grandma? And they're like, because it's the truth, Sonny. It's the truth. This is what really happened. You have to believe me. And nobody believes her. There has to be one person who believes her. There has to be at least one person who's going to take it a little bit seriously. And if you don't take the person who's speaking a bunch of crazy stuff, literally, or like you don't believe them, the chances of you dying are really, really high. Because it's never the grandma that dies, right? She's always like, it's out there, it's going to live. And she tries to warn people, but then they end up dying first, and then she dies, and then somebody else saves the day because they listen to her. So you have to listen to those crazy people. Now, I do understand there's only so much crazy to take in. There's only so much crazy that you can really, handle. Like, imagine if somebody came up to you and said, there was this giant snake, and it was, spewing poison at people, and they murdered my whole family, and now I have to jump on a ghost, and we have to ride to the moon, and then on the moon we come back down, and then we can kill it with moon rocks. Now, listen, I wouldn't believe her, but somebody has to, right? Like, I'm not gonna believe that this giant, snake thing. And the moon, and riding a ghost to the moon. But I will definitely get somebody who will. There has to be somebody out there who will. And you just got to find them. Either you do it or you find somebody that will. Now, something a little bit more understandable and a little bit cooler and a lot better would be if they said something along the lines of, there's a killer snake, not a giant snake, a killer snake, right? That's venomous, and it's going around and it's sucking the souls out of people. So what you have to do is you have to find this ancient ghost, right? And you have to find some rare crystal and stab the snake, and that will stop it from massacring and killing people. That's a more believable story, and that's one people can maybe get a little bit more behind rather than, just nonsense. So I would believe that a little bit more. So it's all about selectively deciding who you're going to believe and who you're not going to believe. And you can't ever discredit the crazy girl because you don't know what they're talking about, right? It's like if I was telling you about the band Queen. If I was telling you about the band Queen and you never listened to their music, there was no... Oh, it's like that movie Yesterday about the Beatles. The guy hits his head and then the world kind of forgets that the Beatles ever existed. But he knows all of the songs, all of the lyrics, he knows all of the tunes, right? And he re-records them and puts them out into the world and he becomes super famous. It's like that, You kind of have to... If you were the only person who knows about them, why would I doubt you? Sometimes you just gotta figure out what you want to believe, what you don't want to believe. So, crazy girl or crazy grandma or crazy person who saw something, you can't discredit them. You have to kind of believe it just a little bit, but not all the way. If that makes sense. So, when you're in a horror movie, believe parts, maybe not the whole story, depending on the situation. And if you are the crazy person who just saw something nuts and wild, then the smart thing to do is to dilute it down, to bring it down, so that way it's not so over the top, so crazy. It can be something that people will actually listen to and will figure out is oh, okay, I can get behind that. I can believe that. Just believable enough. And then there's also the idiots. You ever see those movies where the people all split up? Like Scooby-Doo, right? Scooby-Doo, for instance. It's always Fred is a wild boy. But Fred is always Scooby and Shaggy, you guys split up over there. Me and Daphne and Velma are going to go over there in the bedroom. And we're going to search for clues. Isn't that right, people? And when you watch these horror movies sometimes and you see them go... All right, we got to split up. We got to go divide and conquer. It's no, if you guys all stay together, you guys are stronger as a unit. Do not split up. You want to be around people. You want to be around each other. When you split up and you do your own separate thing, you're going to die. That's a fact. Nobody ever survived solo. Who in the history of horror movies has ever fought on their own and won on their own? Plain and simple. Never. You always have to have a team. You always have to have backup. You always have to have people around you that are willing to fight the good fight with you. And if they're not, it's over. It's over. You can't survive this. So, you have to stay together. Don't ever split up. If you decide to split up, you're an idiot. Why would you ever want to, stay as a team? You're stronger together. In the end. So don't split up. You can't split up. If you split up, it's not going to end well. There's also those moments where you see you ever see a kid, one of those little kids and they're playing with a piñata, or no, not piñata, what am I talking about? What is it called? Oh my gosh, I can't, a kite, right? They're playing with a kite and you're just oh, why are they doing it in a creepy kind of way? Or they're playing with a spider or something like that, or tarantula or whatnot. You're just kind of oh, that's weird. If you ever see that, you got to either kill the thing the kid is playing with or run away completely. You can't trust those moments where the kid is oh, check out my new spider, guys. Look at it. Woo! They're just showing it off, or they're playing with it. They're playing catch with knives or a bloody hand or whatnot. And you're just what is going on over there? You know, you can't trust that. You can't allow that to be a part of your natural life. So if you see a cute kid or like a little girl or child or whatever doing some creepy stuff, you know that that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be around that. Now, by creepy stuff, I don't mean like, you know, hanging out and playing on their iPad. Because that's a clear sign that they're just a normal, weird kid. But if they're like hanging out with, you know, dead birds or whatever, that's when you know, yeah, we got to avoid this. We can't be around that. So avoid those kids. Avoid the creepy child. There's always that creepy kid that you just got to kind of, you know, you can't trust them. You got to avoid them at all cost. And then there are those moments that you kind of feel like, what's the word? Like you just get saved by this person who randomly knows everything about this thing, right? So you know how we were talking about the crazy grandma? Maybe she becomes so overly obsessed with it that she starts learning about the thing that she saw, right? So I talked about this giant snake. Then she becomes this, she studies snakes. And she starts like following snake patterns or trying to like locate this big snake or whatever, right? And you always want to have somebody who's obsessive about something. So that's another reason why you should believe the crazy lady, especially if they're obsessed over it, right? If they're obsessed over this one thing and they like study about it and they're passionate about it and they learn about it, then that's when you have to kind of be like, okay, let's take it a little bit more seriously. Let's, you know, you can get on board with it. And you always want to know those people who have some sort of expert knowledge on stuff, because when you find them, they're going to be able to provide you with the knowledge and the know-how of how to usually kill or beat them. And that's what usually happens in these movies, is that all of a sudden the person comes in, they like, I know exactly how to beat them. And they come from this ancient, you know, ancient time where they used to like murder people and set them ablaze on fire instantaneously, you know. Or they're this evil spirit from back in the day or something like that. And they know all about it and they know how to stop it. That's the people you have to be aware of. And those are the people that are your friends. You gotta trust them. You gotta hold on to them and be like, all right, cool, let's do this. So that's another part of a horror movie, is just be around people who are knowledgeable about the things that you're experiencing. So if you're experiencing something, you know, like ghosts, you gotta follow the ghost hunters. You gotta be a friend with a ghost hunter. Somebody who specializes in finding and how to like detect ghosts, you know. There's always those people. There's also, we were talking about the kid doing creepy stuff there, and sometimes there'll be, you know, like Chucky, the little doll. Like the little girl is like, oh mom, I like this doll, and it's like this old ancient doll, and it's like, how about we get you an iPhone, sweetie? How about we get you something else, something that you'll really enjoy, not this creepy looking doll thing. Like, who in the right mind, why would you ever buy like this porcelain creepy doll or like a rag doll anymore? Like, just get something from Amazon that's mass produced and it's not haunted. Why would you want to buy this one thing? So avoid that. And then there's also those moments where like you close the door, or let's say you like open the door to like the bathroom, and then you close the door and then the bad guy's right there. You have to use your peripheral vision. You know how many times people are like just doing something, or maybe it's the mirror, right? You know the mirror trick where it's like they're brushing their teeth and then they go to spit and then there's the bad guy right behind them and then they look up and they're gone. Like, who can't? You have to be self-aware. You have to know in those moments, you know, or keep an eye out for that kind of thing. But I guess it's a horror movie. I get it. And finally, you ever watch those moments where you think they're dead, but they're actually alive? Like, let's say I hit you in the back of the head with a shovel. Like, bam! I just knocked you out, right? And then I like start hovering over you and I start poking at your body. I'm like, is he dead? Is he dead? No, you got to shoot him in the head. Do something. And stab him in the heart. Stab him in the neck. Do something. You got to do the double tap. Like in Zombieland, the double tap. Make sure they're dead. Do not give any room for doubt. Not, oh yeah, I just left him there out in the woods. You just left him there? This killer clown guy or whoever, and you didn't finish the job? That's what you have to do. You always do a double tap. A double take. You have to murder them. And you have to know for a fact that they're dead. So, when you're in a horror movie, make sure that they are dead. And that's it. That's all we need to do. And whenever I watch these horror movies, I always laugh. I always yell at the screen. And I always try to make it humorous. Because I know for a fact that if it were me, I'm different. Look, I'm different. All right? No way am I ever going to be in a creepy scenario or do something, it being like a place that's creepy or abandoned or like haunted. You know? So, and if I am, or if I ever like, let's just see how it is over there. Because there are haunted places and people go check them out. And I'm not opposed to doing it. It's just that like, you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared. So that's how I feel. And that's what I've learned from watching these horror movies is you have to be prepared at all times. And it's about being selective about when you fight or when you run away. Fight or flight. You have to figure out, when do I fight? When do I flight? So yeah. And if you're ever in a horror movie and if you find that you're easily scared or that you can't handle it or you don't think that you would survive, definitely. You have to build up the skills to survive. If you don't, you're gonna die, you know? And I know a bunch of people feel the same way I do, where it's like, I'm definitely surviving. I'm never going to get caught. I'm going to make it through to the end. And that's what I like. I like people who are like that. People who are like me, dude. People who are like, I know for a fact I'm going to make it through this. And it doesn't matter what's going to happen. I'm different. I'm just going to win. So yeah, when you're in a horror movie, be prepared. Always be prepared. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been another episode. Been watching a lot more horror movies lately. Hope you guys are too. Definitely do a movie marathon whenever you get a chance. It's definitely a lot of fun. And staying in the theme of Halloween, what I was talking about last week. So, yeah, Halloween's coming closer every single day. So you got to enjoy it. Enjoy it while it's here. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching. And I'll see you guys all next time. Thank you so much.